2014, only a decade ago, yet it feels like another century. The air was lighter, the future felt spacious. We didn't yet know what was coming. Watching this now, it feels like opening a letter from a younger world. Back then, we thought peace was permanent. We thought borders had settled, that history had quieted down. But history doesn't sleep, it waits. And when it returns, it reminds us how fragile our certainties are. In 2014, Europe felt whole. The long shadow of war seemed finally gone. But shadows never vanish, they linger. And in Ukraine, they rose again. Streets torn open, families scattered, peace broken, not by time, but by forgetting how much it costs. In 2014, our phones still felt like tools, extensions of us, not replacements. We use them to capture moments. Now moments are lived for them. We stopped looking at what surrounds us and started gazing downward into glowing glass. A billion private worlds, each fighting for attention. We are more connected than ever and yet lonelier than we imagined. Social networks promised us closeness. They gave us distance instead. Everyone shouting, no one hearing. They were not built for truth, but for speed, for outrage, because hate spread 6 times faster than kindness, and the algorithms knew it. The quiet conversations that once held communities together were replaced with endless scrolling. Then, silence. A virus swept across the world. The streets emptied. Airplanes disappeared from the sky. The ordinary became dangerous. The familiar became strange. For the first time in generations, humanity held its breath together, and we learned how fragile our togetherness really is. And just as silence lifted, machines began to speak. They painted pictures, wrote stories, sang songs, mirrors made of code, showing us what it means to be human by imitating it. Some call it progress, some call it the end, but no one could ignore it. The future we imagine as distant arrived almost overnight. And all the while, the earth grew restless, storms heavier, summers hotter, winters vanishing. We used to think the world was the stage for our stories, a backdrop we could count on, solid, eternal, unmoving. Now we see the truth. The stage itself is shifting beneath us. The rivers rise, the glaciers retreat, the seasons blur. We're not the owners of this place. We're only guests here. And the earth, patient as it has always been, is reminding us guests must learn respect or they do not stay long. A decade is not long, just a turn of the calendar. A few more wrinkles, a little more gray in the hair. And yet, a decade is enough for entire worlds to disappear. In these images, the streets are alive, voices overlapping, strangers brushing shoulders without fear, ordinary life, unaware of how fragile it was. Since then, we have lost things that we thought could never be lost. Certainties, assumptions, the belief that tomorrow would look like today. Time doesn't just move forward, it erases. Cafes, once full of conversation, fell silent during the pandemic. Some stayed closed forever. Some voices were never returned. Even as the world bends, some part of us stays unbroken. Even as silence fell, we found new ways to speak. Even as doors closed, we found windows to lean out of, voices to call across the distance. To look back is not only to mourn, it is also to remember what remains possible. That joy once existed here and can exist again. That peace once lived here and can live again. That togetherness was not a dream, it was real, and therefore it is possible still. Time takes much from us, but it also hands us this, the knowledge that nothing is final and nothing is ever entirely lost. If memory is strong enough, it becomes a bridge, a way to carry not just what we saw, but what we felt. To walk back into the past is to walk forward into possibility, because in every vanished world, there are fragments still waiting, asking to be remembered, asking to be lived again. And what about us? Who we were in 2014? The laughter, the innocence, the ease of moving without fear. We walked through crowds without suspicion. We touched without hesitation. That younger version of us didn't count steps, didn't measure likes, didn't know how fragile normal could be. We believed the world was open, that borders were dissolving, that peace was permanent, that life would keep unfolding upward. We had no idea what was coming, the shocks, the silences, the way history would lean so heavily against our generation. And yet, maybe that is the gift of memory. Not just to recall what was, but to remind us of what is still possible. To show us versions of ourselves untouched by fear, still carrying light. And still, there's light in these images. Not just nostalgia, but proof that even in a fragile world, joy leaves traces. That even when everything shifts, something remains. One day, we'll look back at 2025 the way we now look back at 2014, and we will say, even then, the world was gentler than it is now. Even then, love still found a way through the noise. Even then, we laughed, we walked, And if we slow down long enough, if we listen carefully enough, we can still step back inside, not just to watch, but to feel, for a moment, the past is present again. And for that moment, we still belong.